The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
See that cute little dog in the pet store window? Chances are it came from a puppy mill. A breeding facility that forces caged, neglected, and often sick dogs to churn out puppy after puppy to be sold for profit. Meanwhile, millions of wonderful, healthy pets end up in animal shelters. This leads to the killing of more than 9,000 by the end of today. But with one simple choice, you can help. Just by deciding to adopt instead of purchase your next pet. Animal shelters are full of amazing pets looking for a home. When you adopt your new best friend, not only are you saving a life, you're taking a stand against puppy mills. When your friends see the smart choice and impact you've made, they adopt their next pet and share with 5 of their friends, who share with 5 more. Before long, thousands get involved. Pet stores stop selling dogs from puppy mills, and even more lives are saved. And with your help, we can save them all. Visit bestfriends.org/puppymills to learn more.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Schaap. You may know me from ESPN's Outside the Lines and Sports Center. What you probably don't know is that I've suffered from Crohn's disease for almost 20 years. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America's Take Steps, Be Heard walk program is the largest national walk program dedicated to raising funds and awareness to combat Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. To learn more about how you can help and to find a walk site near you, please visit www.cctakesteps.org.
Think fast. In the short time it takes to listen to this message, a small flame can turn into a big fire. Several minutes more, and thick, poisonous smoke may have filled your lungs and reduced your ability to respond. Give it 5, and your entire home may be filled with flames.
Keep breathing. We've got you.
Don't let your world go up in smoke. Have working smoke alarms and practice an escape plan for you and your loved ones. Learn more at usfa.fema.gov, because fire is everyone's fight.
Have you mixed your pain meds, your sleep meds, your allergy meds? Call the Poison Helpline. Has your child eaten a tube of toothpaste, a chip of paint, a wild mushroom? Call the Poison Helpline. Have you been bitten by a spider, a snake, an insect? Call the Poison Helpline. Poisonings can happen at the home, on the job, or in the great outdoors. Call the Poison Helpline first for fast, free advice from medical professionals. Call 1-800-222-1222 anytime, anywhere. 1-800-222-1222. Save the number, save a life. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all, the few, the proud, the Marines.
Hi, I'm Hillary Duff. As a mom, I'm proud to support the March of Dimes in helping more women have full-term pregnancies and healthy babies. That's why I walk in March for Babies. The money we raise funds research and local programs that help babies overcome the challenges of premature birth and birth defects. Sign up today at marchforbabies.org. Together, we can help make healthier babies possible for thousands of families.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Studio located somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire is Rod Eccles.
And a good Tuesday morning to you, liberty lovers and ecclesiastites all across the globe. Yes, it is I, your lovable host, El Rod, coming to you live this morning, this August number 8 in the year of our Lord 2017. I am back in the Freedom Throne. Behind the Freedom mic, the call-in number this morning is 603-835-3226. Again, that's 603-835-3226. Did a little family duty yesterday and over the weekend. It was important for the family. Let me just say it was It was good to do. All families. Well, this had to do with my anniversary of the passing of my father, and all families. Each family grieves in their own way, and for the majority of us in our family, I think this year it finally. I wouldn't say closure. There was a lot more acceptance 2 years after the fact. When you have a person in your family that is highly respected and very much loved, not just by your own family, but by the public that knew him, in their outpouring of support and showing of love and caring at the passing, it makes things, believe it or not, some people will say, well, that makes things easier. No, it doesn't. I think it actually makes things harder. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't express their sympathies and everything like that, but it makes it harder because you think, well, he or she can't be gone. Look, everybody loved them. Everybody, they had such an impact on everybody's lives around them. They can't be gone now, not yet. And it makes it harder for acceptance. But I think 2 years on now, we've come. A lot of us have come to acceptance. Some of the families still haven't. Me personally, I think I finally have. And so the weekend was good to spend with family. In any case, it is a part of life. Death is a part of life. And as I often say, none of us are getting out of this life alive. So we need to do what we can while we're here. and to make life as pleasurable, as memorable, as useful to other people around us as possible while we are here. It doesn't mean you have to be some earth-shattering, groundbreaking human being that affects just about everybody on the planet. But even if you just affect those around you in a positive manner, then that's what we're called to do. Remember, I know Tip O'Neill, and I often repeat this saying, all politics is local. Well, the reality is all life is local. All life is local. Whatever you do affects the people around your locale. If you have a feud with your neighbor, do what you can to fix it. Now, I'm not saying that don't compromise on your core principles, but ask yourself: is this feud based on your core principles, or is it just some nasty feeling that got out of hand? I mean, fix it. If there's a possible way to fix it, fix it. If it means that, if you're saying, I'm never going to go knock on his door, go knock on his door. It's not a good thing to create animosity with your neighbor. I mean, within your community, because it affects more than just you. Believe it or not, it really does. So, if at all possible, if you're having a feud with your neighbor, or you're having a feud with a family member, fix it. It's never too late. I hear this all the time. Well, it's too late. No, you know when it's too late? When one or both of you are dead. That's when. Until then, as long as you're both still breathing, it's not too late. Fix it. One of the worst things that people can do is having a feud with people closest to them, both in their family and in proximity. It makes life miserable. If you're having a feud with your neighbor, how miserable is it? You don't even want to go outside, do you? You don't want to see them. You try to avoid them. In other words, you are missing out on the full enjoyment of your property. You might be in fear of what the neighbor might do to your car or your trees or your fence or something. Fix the problem if at all possible. Fix it. It takes two to tango here. Your neighbor has got to reciprocate you wanting to fix it, but somebody's got to start it. So you be the bigger person and go and fix it. There's nothing that can't be resolved. If two people want to be a reason, I know. What if you're a Trump supporter and your neighbor is just a blithering, idiotic liberal? Well, you might have a problem there. I will grant you that. But if they're not a blithering idiot, you can probably fix it. Now, on the other hand, if your nearest neighbor is you have 2 acres and your nearest neighbor is you can't see them or hear them, well, then you might be okay. Then I don't know how you're having a feud anyway if you're not living that close to somebody. But otherwise, and it could be at work. And the worst part about that is a lot of Americans work outside the home, and they work for somebody else. The worst thing in life, you spend a third of your life or more at your job. And, frankly, in these modern times of ours, it is often a true statement that you spend more time with your coworkers than your actual immediate family members. And yet you're miserable at work. Well, fix it. I'm serious. Fix it. You'd be surprised how easy sometimes it is to look. I know office politics. I always hated office politics. I stayed out of office politics as much as I could, and I get it. Sometimes you just get dragged into them. But if there's a problem, you be the big person and at least reach out that hand of peace and try to fix it. You're going to like your work. It's amazing. Yeah, I remember these two people that I once worked with a business consulting firm. I mean, they basically sat next to each other. Now, I don't know what happened, but they had a falling out, and they were just miserable. And one day, our boss just took him into we went all into the conference room. And, he read the riot act to everyone over there. See, but he was really talking to these two people because they were infecting the whole room. Their little feud, whatever it was about, they were infecting the whole room, the whole office. And, he went out, he berated, everybody about this for about 5 minutes. And he said, everybody out except for those two. And he said, don't come out of here until you fix it. A half hour later is when they came out. And they did. And the fix changed the whole dynamic of the office. So it's not just you who's affected, by the way. So fix it. If at all possible, fix it. Everybody around you is going to be happier, including yourself. So fix it. Anyway. When I was home in Syracuse, they have Interstate 81 runs north and south from Canada. Where does it dump out at? I think it finally ends somewhere in Georgia. Anyway, it traverses many easternboard states. It's not as long as 95, because 95 runs the full gamut, basically Canadian border to tip of Florida. But it's one of the longest interstates that we have. And it goes through a lot of states. Well, in Syracuse, they routed, now this is the problem with a lot of the interstates. They routed them through the middle. Doesn't matter what interstate it is. In our larger cities, they routed the interstate roadways straight through the middle of many cities. It just runs right through the middle of these cities. And usually they were spotted and planned and put in some of the more poorest neighborhoods of the city. Yeah, that's, no different for Syracuse, New York either. That's what they did. Now, Syracuse has something similar to what Boston had. Now, I don't know how many. Well, San Francisco had an elevated highway, but Boston had a major elevated highway. 93 runs through Boston, and it was built and it was elevated. Because hey, let's raise the highways off the ground, a little bit less noise, and you can use underneath the park. And it never. These raised, elevated highways are never the beautiful, roadway utopias that the planners originally thought that they were going to be. They became eyesores, and made it impossible, really, to maintain them for a longer period. Basically, these things have come to the end of their useful life. So it makes it impossible to maintain them, and it makes it very difficult to repair them or replace them. So Boston did something that was quite unique as far as an urban city is concerned, and they spent nearly $15 billion in over 20 years taking an elevated highway and tunneling it. And I think the deepest part of the tunnel of 93 in Boston is like 70 or 80 feet below the surface. You don't even realize that you're that far deep, but yeah, it is. So they spent a lot of time and a lot of money doing that. And for the most part, they did. It was a good. It appears to be a good design, although it's inadequate for the traffic. But again, tunnels. Now that you build a tunnel, it's like a raised highway. Impossible to expand. without some major undertaking. And it's not like a surface road that can be expanded. But Syracuse is running through the same problems. They have elevated highway running through the middle of the city and through some of the poorest sections of the city still to this day. Well, it's beyond its useful life, and it's becoming a near impossibility to repair it. And because it's all buildings and houses, everything are right up against the highway, so they can't really expand it without tearing down more housing. And you know how that's going to go in a poor neighborhood. Oh, you're just attacking poor people. Well, yeah, back in the day, I guess you could say that would be true when they first, built these things and put them through these certain neighborhoods. So now they're thinking of two basic options. One, using the existing, circumferential highway called 481. You know how you have highways that run around or run rings around cities instead of going straight through them? Well, there's 481 that connects north of the city on Route 81, and then it wraps around the city, bypasses it, and connects south of the city on 81. So they're thinking about actually turning 481 into 81, and then making the part of 81 that runs through the city currently into a boulevard. I've seen pictures. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. You don't take a major highway where you're doing 55 to 65 miles an hour and then turning it into a boulevard with traffic lights. Dumb idea. The other idea, believe it or not, is they want to try to be Boston. And when we get back, I'll tell you why they have it all wrong.
You're listening to me, your lovable host, Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide. Plus, what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0 Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
And now a message from our sponsor. Ladies, tired of drying your hair with the same old vacuum cleaner? Try Avanche brand new Beauty Locks portable hair dryer. It's smaller, it's faster, it's guaranteed to give you the hair you've always wanted in half the time. Beauty Locks is delicate and dainty, just like you. The dryer weighs only a pound and easily fits in your hand. Now that's beauty and convenience. With a speedy motor that will dry your hair in as little as 25 minutes, you can get gorgeous hair without falling behind schedule. Don't worry about the little ones or that pie in the oven. Thanks to an extra-long extension cord, you can move around well, primping your locks. Forget those long trips to the salon and no more waiting for hours under monster machines. Avanche gives you an easy and speedy hairdo that will blow your man away. Get it now at your nearest Macy's.
listening to The Rod Eccles Show. Let truth be told.
Five 3226. So what is Syracuse going to do, and why does it matter? With the Interstate 81 highway through the city project, they have to do something. They really do. I mean, it's a mess. It really is. And the section that really is the biggest problem is the section that goes through what they call the south side of Syracuse. Which is the poorest neighborhood in the city, by far. And, of course, you're going to get, if they do something on the surface that affects the neighborhood of the South Side, where the bulk of the city's brown people live, which means black and Latinos, it's a crime-infested neighborhood. It really is. It's a very poor neighborhood. And of course, if they do something that affects the neighborhood in any sort of negative way, you're going to hear the sounds of racism. Well, so what they're thinking of is doing one of the options is pulling a Boston and burying the highway underneath the city. Now, much like it's uncanny how similar it is to Boston. Much like in Boston, there's another major artery that crosses 81, and that's called 690. Much like the Turnpike or Route 90, the thruway, connects with 93 in Boston and crosses it. So but the problem is that they're thinking, well, we don't know if it'll be give us easy access to the surface streets. I think, well, Boston fixed that problem. We don't know if people will accept it. Yeah, if you tear down an elevated highway and give people back that area, yeah, they're going to like it and accept it. Boston overcame that problem. In other words, they came up with all these excuses and reasons that they already went through and fixed and solved in the Boston Big Dig, except for one thing: the cost. Yeah, these people they don't seem to, they think that we, the people, do not learn. And they came up with this fake low number. Now, as far as the length of the tunnel, I don't think it's going to be as long as the Boston project, but they gave us a price tag of under $4 billion. $3.8 billion would be the total price tag for this thing. And I said, they're lying. Because the Boston Big Dig tunnel was originally supposed to cost about $2.5 billion, ended up costing almost $15 billion. So the Syracuse thing, which is only supposed to, it could take 5 to 10 years. It's going to take 20 to 30 and cost, if it's already at $4 billion, it's going to cost the city and the state and the feds, some $20 billion. It won't be done until 2040. But they have to do something. But these are elected and appointed officials that do not seem to learn. Just as the Boston people, when they built the Big Dig, they supposedly tried to learn from Atlanta when Atlanta widened their highway through the city of Atlanta and learn from their mistakes. And yet the Boston project repeated the same mistakes that Atlanta made. So they may send people over to Boston to try to learn how Boston did it, but they're still going to, do the same. Why? Or would they create and commit the same mistakes? Because there is no competition. These are all appointed lackeys. The only thing on their mind is gaining higher and higher position in the government and more power using only your money.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please, call or go online right now.
403-835-3226. See, one of the main problems with here in the Northeast anyway is the fact that there isn't a lot of space. You know, things in the Northeast, well, in the East Coast, period, things are tight. We don't have wide, expansive spaces to put roadways. Because this is the oldest part of the country. And the further west you go until you hit California, you don't have a lot of. The further west you go, the more space, wide open spaces you have. So when you get to places like, Arizona and Colorado and especially Texas, you can take a lot of land to spread out your roadways and make them. Dallas just finished. It's like 11 lanes, 11 or 12 lane highway. It's like 5 and 6 lanes in each direction. I mean, that's just insane. There's no way in hell you're going to put an 11 lane highway anywhere in the Northeast. Especially in and around a major city. There's no room. At least not above ground, unless you elevate this thing way above building. They had something like that in Buffalo, I think. They called it the Skyway, the Skyline, or something like that. It's pretty high up there. Parts of that roadway, but it's not. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be driving on something that high. But some bridges are bad enough. But to make your highway elevated like that, however, if we actually keep progressing the way we're progressing, I guess roadways may be, the highways may be like we keep building and rebuilding, may become a moot point. We're using old technology right now. And so I don't know. What does it mean for tunnels? In many places, you won't need tunnels if you have flying cars. And this is actually going to happen. Yeah, it's just a matter of time now. But what do we do in the meantime? Do we spend and overspend billions upon billions upon billions of taxpayer dollars, burying our highways so we can make them bigger and more efficient, or taking up acres and acres and acres of land out west so we can build 11, 12, 14 lane roadways. That's just insane. Anyway. Well, because by everybody knows that. Well, not everybody knows, but people know that places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, they have goals to have a quarter of their car fleet, if you will, their taxi fleet, to being flying drones by 2025. Flying drones that can carry 1 or 2 passengers, human beings. I got to ask you a question. Would you get into an autonomous? Well, they really wouldn't be autonomous because somebody's watching this thing and programming it and certain things like that. But would you get into an autonomous vehicle? Well, not necessarily a human drone, but vehicle. But they're coming. They're testing them now. But would you get into an autonomous vehicle? And if the roadway was filled with autonomous vehicles, would we need roadways that were so wide? Do we need roadways this wide because of human error? Because human driver infallibility. Let's face it. If you program a destination into an autonomous car, you're not going to forget your exit or miss your exit. It's going to know. And everybody around is going to know, or all the cars around are going to know too. So it will automatically make space. It could be a smooth operation. I can see the benefits of it. But you can't have any human cars, human-driven cars out there because they'll screw up the whole thing. So that's Anybody remember the movie Demolition Man? Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. We can have a whole society similar to that. But what we have to stop doing is we have to stop lying to the public. We have to stop misleading the public. The very notion that this thing is going to cost some $3.8 billion is a bold-faced lie. And those who are doing the initial planning know it. But they think that that's what they have to do in order to sell it. Now, let's face it, when they came about in the 80s and 90s, when they started the project for the Boston Big Dig, everybody thought, well, $2.8 billion, that's a bargain to get rid of the green monster elevated highway and make it more efficient and faster and shorten people's commutes. That's how they sold it. And then the reality hit in, and I think the final price tag was somewhere around $14.8 billion. It was 10 years past due, and it's already obsolete. And it's obsolete because the tunnel itself is okay. Yeah, it's fine. They got all the kinks worked out. The problem is not the tunnel itself. The problem is all the roadways leading into and out of the tunnel. That's what gets jammed up, which backs up traffic into the tunnel. Now, granted, if they didn't build the tunnel and made it, and added a couple of lanes, they didn't add enough lanes, to tell you the truth, for one. But it's not. The problem is the other parts of 81 that run through the general greater Boston area. They didn't attack that. They didn't solve that problem. And that's a problem. It's a major problem. And it makes that $15 billion that they spend elsewhere kind of worthless, useless. And this could be the same thing with that Syracuse is facing. They could, maybe they can bury the 81 under the city. And they'll fix that part, but will they fix the rest of it? Probably not. Because they don't learn. Because Atlanta spent billions of dollars down there in fixing their roadway through the city. But the problem is that's all they did. They didn't fix the rest of it. So they still have traffic jams. And this is the case no matter where you go. Yeah, it looks pretty. It looks nice to build these monstrosity roadways for short sections. So, yeah, see, we fixed it. And it still ends up with bottlenecks, and it actually helps make things worse on either ends of the highway because they didn't fix the rest of it. So it's nice and smooth sailing, but as soon as you get off of that new construction, what do you got? Bottleneck, worse than before, because now you're getting more cars to the outer edges of the roadway in the city than you were able to get before, and so it creates a bigger bottleneck jam. So in other words, 12-lane highway has got to be more than just 12 lanes through the city. I mean, you got to have 12 lanes that are out of the city. Or else if you go from 12 lanes down to 6, well, you're going to create a bottleneck somewhere. And that's what happens. Same with the Boston Big Dig. They made it nice and pretty and smooth and easy flowing under the city. But as soon as you get outside of the city, well, you're back into the old construction. It's just going to back things up into the new construction. Our government, and it's not that it's something that couldn't be fixed, but it would take a bigger price tag than they could sell. They wouldn't be, we can fix the Boston thing, but if you really want it fixed, that means we're going to have to do construction, this far out of the city on the north side, and this far out of the city on the south side, and this far out of the city on the east side, and this far out of the city on the west side. And instead of, the honest, true cost of $14.5 billion, it's going to cost like $30. Well, the public would balk at that. And they know it. But what the public hates is when they promise them something and they spend $15 billion in, over 20 years doing it, nearly 10 years past its completion date, and it doesn't really work. The public would have rather have been told the truth up front. Well, we're going to have to do this and add this road and this type of thing in order to make this thing really flow through all the way around. And the price tag is going to be this. Well, the people can understand that. The problem is that we seem to fall for this stuff every single time, and people are saying, yeah, it's a good idea. Only less than $4 billion to bury the highway under the city. Well, that's not going to fix the problem. You're going to spend 10 or 15 years building this thing, and when it's all said and done, people are going to wonder, well, why do we still have traffic jams? Because you didn't fix, because this highway runs north and south, and there's a bypass highway and another highway that runs into the city, but connects to the same route, 81, and they're not fixing any of that to make it more free-flowing and handle more traffic. No, that's not. None of that's going to get fixed. So they're going to make a nice, pretty, tunnel or boulevard, and nothing's going to be fixed. It's just going to be worse, actually, the bottleneck areas than it was before, because they're going to be able to get traffic faster and more traffic faster to those bottlenecks. That's it. So. And I think that's what people are finally getting tired of. They want the truth. And we still have a bunch of people that think in order to sell us something, they got to lie to us. Those are our government officials. Speaking of Syracuse, New York, there was some big talk while I was there. It seems like Andrew Cuomo may have some serious competition next year for his re-election bid. Not just from Republicans, but he may be majorly primaried within his own party. Look, this whole thing about Andrew Cuomo possibly being running in 2020 for president, it's kind of like Maxine Waters. It's like his dad. People think, well, Andrew Cuomo is so loved and he's so wonderful. He's not loved outside of his state. And actually, the whole thing is he's maybe he's not so loved within his state. His dad Mario found that out. Mario Cuomo ran for, back in the 80s? And he found out that his reputation preceded him, especially going out west. They didn't like him too much out there. Some East Coast, highfalutin attorney East Coast Italian thought he was all that, and he wasn't. I think Andrew Cuomo may run into the same thing. And then Mario was not too much later after his horrific presidential bid. I think that was 80s when Dukakis got the nomination. It's when Mario Cuomo ran. And it wasn't too long after that until he was defeated for governor, for another term as governor within the state. So I think Andrew may be getting to that point sooner than his daddy did. And that's fine, because there are a lot of people that don't like Andrew for good reason. Everybody talks about how Trump is big, bold, brash, and a bully. Well, that's Andrew Cuomo, from what I understand. And he's just the governor; he's not the president. So, will Cuomo survive past 2018? It's not my state. I don't live there anymore, but I have family that lives there, so I would hope that they would wake up and figure out that Andrew Cuomo is not their friend. As is many a Democrat is not the people's friend. And one of this whole speaking of Democrats, this whole thing on the these Civil War monuments. Now, I'm going to address this when we get back. Don't go anywhere, folks. I'm going to inject whatever you want to, adjective you want to use, some logic into this whole topic and discussion. We'll be back.
Hello, America. It's me, your history. I remember a time when we thumbed our nose in a king's face, sent him packing. And when fascists and emperors talked a little bit too loud, we showed up, tore their cities to the ground, and then rebuilt them just to prove we could. We put men on the moon, we won a Cold War, and we elected fearless leaders who led fearless people. What the hell happened to you, America? Back in my day, we didn't elect a big-eared community organizer. We punched him in the kidney. Maybe it's time you came home, America. Home where you belong.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
This is Free America broadcasting on the Rod Eccles Show with a message to all patriots trapped behind the lines in California, New York, Boston, and Chicago. Don't give up, true lovers of America. Even as we speak, moves are being made to drive the invaders back to the land from which they came, defeat the would-be dictators, and lift the chains of tyranny from around your neck. Stay strong. Stay brave. You're not forgotten, and you're not alone. Until next time, patriots, this is Free America signing out.
Call Rod now, 603-835-3226. Lines are open.
South Carolina is having an issue, and there have been a number of states, South Carolina, Louisiana, and other places down south have had some issues with these so-called Civil War Confederate monuments. Now, I've addressed this briefly before in this program, where I said I don't mind at all that they have these monuments up, or that people fly the Confederate flag. But here's the real problem with this, and it's not what people really think. And well, it's freedom. Let me just spell this out for you. First of all, if their feelings and their actions were actually true and just, I'd be all behind it. But they're not. But here's a true and just action. No country that is, or no nation, no victorious victors, if you will emolumate, if you will, the vanquished. You don't see the British. You didn't see the British kings erecting monuments to George Wallace, because that would have been stupid. But yet in this country, what we did is we took a bunch of we took an era called the slavery era of this country. It was defeated by the North, and yet we just went ahead and started, putting up all these monuments to those who were defeated. That made no sense. And I understand that you want to try to keep your history, you want to remember your history, but that's not how you do it. But once they were up, why is there this big push to all of a sudden now, a century later, 50 years later, what have you, to remove them? Again, this makes no sense either. Well, it does if you understand what's really going on here. Now, first of all, you have to understand none of these Civil War monuments from Southern people, from the Confederate side, I should say, should have ever been erected. They never should have been erected. Because what you were doing is you're glorifying, it's history, Rod. No. I'm not talking about rewriting history or erasing history, because that's what they're trying to do now, is erase history. No nation has ever glorified the loser. I mean, that would be like us, erecting monuments to imperialist Japan and Nazi Germany. Can you imagine? They don't do that in Germany. They don't have a bunch of monuments to Nazi Germany in Germany, do they? They haven't erected a bunch of post-World War II monuments to imperialist Japan, do they? No. They didn't. And they don't, as they would say in Scotland. So how did this come about where we erected so many in the South? Now, just think of where they are. Are there really any Civil War Confederate monuments anywhere in this country outside of the South? No, there really isn't. Why is that? Because no nation in history has ever glorified the vanquished. But yet we did that in the South. And the reason is, very simply, is because they didn't want to lose completely in the South. Who didn't want to lose? After the break, I'll tell you exactly what this is all about.
Have you ever thought to yourself, I'm a leftist elite Hollywood a-hole? If so, good news. The Rod Eccles Hollywood Community College is now open, featuring such courses as unemployment is not paid vacation. No, Americans don't want to spend $19 for an order of French fries, and the ever popular shut the hell up. Why, just listen to this big-time celebrity endorsement.
I'm not Rosie O'Donnell, and I think this school's offensive, sexist, and racist.
And I think you're a giant a-hole who needs to shut the hell up. Hey, we teach a course in that. The Rod Eccles Hollywood Community College, where being an a-hole is not a guarantee you'll be an A student.
Thousands of families affected by disasters, like the recent wildfires, urgently need support. You can help the American Red Cross provide warm meals, shelter, and hope to families when they need it most. Please donate today to Red Cross Disaster Relief to help people affected by disasters, big and small. Go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. Your support is critical. We can't do it without you.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you could still have hepatitis C, a serious disease that's a leading cause of liver cancer. If you were born from 1945 to 65, you should get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments can cure this disease. Talk to your doctor about getting tested. A message from the CDC.
Think fast. In the short time it takes to listen to this message, a small flame can turn into a big fire. Several minutes more, and thick, poisonous smoke may have filled your lungs and reduced your ability to respond. Give it 5, and your entire home may be filled with flames.
Keep breathing. We've got you.
Don't let your world go up in smoke. Have working smoke alarms and always stay in the kitchen when cooking at high temperatures. Learn more at usfa.fema.gov because fire is everyone's fight.
Have you mixed your pain meds, your sleep meds, your allergy meds? Call the Poison Helpline. Has your child eaten a tube of toothpaste, a chip of paint, a wild mushroom? Call the Poison Helpline. Have you been bitten by a spider, a snake, an insect? Call the Poison Helpline. Poisonings can happen at the home, on the job, or in the great outdoors. Call the Poison Helpline first for fast, free advice from medical professionals. Call 1-800-222-1222 anytime, anywhere. 1-800-222-1222. Save the number, save a life. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Premature birth is the #1 killer of babies. Those who survive often face birth defects and complications that affect them for life. For hundreds of thousands of families in the United States, this is the hardest thing they will ever have to face. And it's even harder on the baby. March of Dimes is providing education and support to families and funding life-saving research to give every baby a fighting chance. You can help. Do something today. Give them tomorrow at marchofdimes.org/tomorrow.
It's pretty amazing when you consider that 7 years ago, we didn't have the treatments we have now. We cure 80% of children with cancer. Go back 50 years, we were curing 20 to 30%. This is the miracle story of modern medicine. We understand what makes this cancer tick. And of course, without donors from around the world, this just couldn't happen. There's one thing we're focused on, and that's beating this thing.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Not on my watch, our military service members say, as they volunteer to serve. As they move out, stand firm, and take fire. So not on our watch, we say, to the severely ill or injured veterans who can't get the care they deserve to live full and independent lives, even when there's no government funding or a nursing home seems like the only option. We won't leave one warrior behind. Not on our watch. Join us at findwwp.org.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
America's wounded warriors are coming home. After serving on foreign shores, these brave men and women are returning to their families and communities. Many have wounds you can see, and many have wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Now that these warriors are back home, they are ready to enter the civilian workforce. To help, Wounded Warrior Project has developed the Warriors to Work program, a career counseling service that helps warriors translate their military experience to the civilian workplace. These extraordinary men and women bring proven world-class job skills and a unique perspective on teamwork to the job. And to ensure the right warrior finds the right job, Wounded Warrior Project works with employers to find just the right match. When you hire a wounded warrior, you hire an intelligent, talented, and committed new employee. Contact Wounded Warrior Project at findwwp.org. Welcome home the brave.
You want to know what time it is? It's time to bring the rain.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Studio located somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire is Rod Eccles.
And welcome back to you, liberty lovers and ecclesiastites all across the globe. Here it is on Tuesday, August number 8 in the year of our Lord 2017, hour number 2 here on the Rod Eccles Show. Thank you for being here. I am, of course, your lovable host, Elrod. 603-835-3226 is the number. Again, that's 603-835-3226 is the number to call should you wish to join me here. It is on this rather cool Tuesday morning here. It is August, right? And we're not even hitting 70. It's like 65 degrees out there. The weather this year is just, you know, I'm tired of listening. I've really had it with listening to these climate change wackos. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Every time the weather does not cooperate, they change their status. You know, we went from global cooling to global warming. And I still to this day get people tell me, no, we never said global cooling. Like, you don't know your history, dude. 60s and 70s into the early 80s, it was all about global cooling and about the world being plunged into another ice age. Was it in the 90s with Ben Affleck? What was that movie where global warming melted all the ice on the polar caps, which cooled off the ocean so much that the ocean current stopped and then plunged the northern half of the planet into a deep ice age. So They got us with both in that stupid movie. It was a flop, by the way. The movie was a flop. It starred Ben Affleck. And no, it wasn't one of it wasn't the the spy movies that he had done. But it was idiocy. So it was all about global warming. We were still calling it global warming. So it was about global warming, melting the polar ice caps, especially the North Pole, which melted all the ice in the North Pole, which then, because ice is cold, right? So the water is cold. It cooled off the water jet streams, the currents, if you will. And when those currents came to a stop in the Atlantic and the Pacific somehow, I mean, as big as the Pacific is, I don't know, yeah. So the currents came to a stop. Just stopped. And that caused the entire northern half of the planet to go into this deep, deep, deep ice age. As a matter of fact, the ice age was so big and so bad that it forced those people who survived in Canada and in the USA, here's the other part, it forced them to move south of the border into Mexico. And Mexico at first didn't want to have Americans come down to Mexico. It was so bad that they had to move the capital into Mexico. So it was the United States in absentia or something like that. Yeah, the day after. I think that was it. Thanks, Don. Glad that you're in the chat room. The day after, or tomorrow, the day after, whatever. It was the stupid, the day after the stupid rise is what it should have been called. But that was the whole thing. So they covered their bases by saying, yes, global warming, but it's global cooling. Because in the 60s and 70s, they talked about global cooling because we were using too much, we were polluting the air too much, and it was going to create this cloud that blocked out the sun. And everything was going to be colder because the sun got blocked out. Now, that was the last time they ever contributed, climate on this planet to the sun. It was during the global cooling. And people say, well, I don't believe you. Go look at the cartoon, The Incredible Mr. Lorax. Not the Jim Carrey flop, animated animatron movie, but the original 30-minute TV special that they played every year for like a decade. It's on YouTube. It's all about global cooling. But that's not the first time. Now, I have learned going all the way back into the second decade of this country, the 19-teens, because of the Industrial Revolution, there were people back then talking about global warming. And that they got their foothold. They started in the teens, the 19-teens, and they got their foothold during the Great Depression. The Dust Bowl and everything. Oh, well, it's a drought. Oh, yeah, it's because of global warming, this. Then we had World War II and the Korean War, and people forgot all about it. Then it was, nuclear fallout. That took precedent. And then sometime in the 60s, with all the wonderful flower children, thank you, baby boomers, we got back into this whole Earth Day and global cooling type of crap. And then when it was shown that the Earth was not, we had cooler temperatures in the 70s. It had nothing to do with mankind's activity. It was just cyclical. And when we got into the 80s, they realized, well, the Earth wasn't cooling off anymore. It was starting to warm up. Oh, now it's global warming. So for the next 20 years, all we heard about was global warming. And then when that got disproved, that the Earth was actually cooling off because the activity of the sun had changed, which directly affects the climate on this planet, things cooled off a little bit. So then they changed it. Well, geez, we can't go back to global cooling. We'll look like fools. So we'll just say it's man-made global climate change to cover all their bases, like the day after type of crap. So I'm just sick and tired of this stuff. Anybody comes to me with climate change, they're lucky I'm a nice Christian person, because I'd have to slap the piss out of them and to try to slap some sense into them. It's just ridiculous. But I've gone over this over and over and over ad nauseum on this program, why they are so wrong, using their own data oftentimes to prove how wrong they are. It's just absolutely redonkulous. Anyway, got me off track. So why is this happening in the South with the removal of all of these wonderful Confederate monuments? Now, first you have to understand why the monuments were erected. They were erected out of pure racism, not love for Confederacy, and not for love of preserving history. Because again, as I said, no victor has ever honored the defeated and the vanquished with memorials. That just doesn't happen. As a matter of fact, when there is often a new winner, Soviet Union, when the Soviet Union fell, what's some of the first things that they did? They removed those Soviet area monuments. Did they not? The people just took them down. Anything of Lenin and Brezhnev and all those bad guys, they got rid of those memorials, those statues. But here in the United States, around the turn of the century, they started erecting these things left and right in the South. Well, because it was a racist notion to remind people, especially blacks, what their place really was in the South. Make no mistake about it, it was not about preserving Confederate history. Not at all. Sorry, folks, but it was. I know there's some people are going to disagree with me, but I'm sorry. That's the truth. It had nothing to do with preserving Confederate history. Now that they're up, they never should have been erected. But now that they're up, now you have people who want to take them down. Now, the interesting thing is, the truth behind them being erected has everything to do with them wanting to preserve the separation of the races, wishing for the days of slavery to still be here, or at least the Jim Crow laws still being in place. Now, who did all of that? Well, Democrats did all that. Republicans did not raise monuments to the Confederates. It was the Democrats. Because the Confederates were Democrats. Dixiecrats and Democrats. That's the South. Now who's trying to remove all of these monuments outside of, Jesse Jackson et al.? Who's trying to remove it? Democrats. And you might say, well, see, they came to their senses, and that proves that the Republicans are the... No. They're trying to remove these monuments and trying to keep you from flying the rebel battle flag out of a sense of changing, rewriting, and whitewashing history. They're trying to write their involvement in the Civil War and slavery out of the history books. That is the only reason, folks. Now, if you don't believe me, what do Democrats call Republicans? And people who like Trump? We're the racist. Well, not me. I'm just a coon and self-loather, self-hater, that type of thing. But if you're white, and you're a white Trump supporter, what are you? You're a racist. Now, that's simply because they are trying to hide that they are still the party of racist. They're trying to hide and erase the fact that they were the party of slavery. They were the party of secession. They were the party of of saying that another man, a white man, could own a black man as property. That's what that's about. And those monuments that they so proudly erected now remind them, we're trying to change our stripes here, at least in the visual. But we can't do it if we keep flying the rebel flag and we keep these quote unquote offensive monuments in place. It was the people of your party that erected those monuments in the first place. This is why they're trying to get them removed. And Republicans, for the most part, are saying, well, it is. Well, now it's a part of history. You might as well leave them up. Because why? Because you're the jackasses that erected them in the first place. And we know that you're trying to erase history. We know that you're trying to rewrite history. And this is why I say, as a black man, they don't bother me so much. The reason why they don't bother me is because they tell the truth of the Democrat Party and those who believe in the Democratic mantra. Because that's who they are. They erected them, and now that they realize people see them every day and are reminded that it's not Republicans put them up, not the Republican, although they've tried very hard. Have you noticed that they've been trying very hard over the past decade to make it sound like, they've been trying for the past 40 years, but really hard, pushing hard to make it sound like that sometime in the 50s, in early 60s that all the black-hating Democrats went to the Republican Party. And all this stuff about slavery was all about Republicans. The Republican Party is the home of racism. And they try to erase the fact that they try to erase the historical record that stated that the reason why the Democratic-Republican Party split, one of the main reasons for the split, is those on the Republican side of the party were abolitionists and didn't believe in slavery. They believed in the Constitution, that all men were created equal, and the Democrats thought, oh, hell no, these are darkies from Africa, they're not even fully human, they're only 3/5 human, they don't get a right to vote, they don't have a right to live, we can do whatever we want with them, they're like dogs. In fact, oftentimes, the slave masters' dogs are treated better than the slaves. That's what they thought. And that's what those monuments remind people of every single day, and that is why they want to remove them. Which is why I say, leave them up now that you put them up. You made your bed, now sleep in it. And stop trying to erase or change history.
You're listening to the Rod Eccles Show, the coolest, most politically incorrect, conservative black man on the planet.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said to me, I bet you won't lend me money to buy an electric guitar. Well, he was making $100 a week, and he was over 18, and I said, I bet you I will lend you money to buy an electric guitar. And I did. So what happens? The punk gets busted for possession of dangerous drugs, and we're out $350. There's one thing about kids nowadays. You don't have to give them credit.
Universal Bank. We trust you. About as far as we can throw you.
South Carolina is evidently they're not. I think they're finally going the other way with this removal of historical truth. Orangeburg, South Carolina. I have no idea where. I didn't look it up on a map, so I don't know where Orangeburg, South Carolina is. And it sounds like it's spelled Orangeburg. It's somewhere in South Carolina. The city of Orangeburg, South Carolina, is refusing to order the removal of a Confederate flag from a tiny piece of property in front of an ice cream shop. Now, this is why I say this stuff is simply coming from the left, and they're attacking the wrong people. And here is the prime example. An appeals board, and this is from ABC News in South Carolina. An appeals board in Orangeburg decided last week in a 6-0 vote that the flag on a 130 square foot parcel in front of Edisto River Creamery, Edisto, doesn't violate the city's zoning laws. Now, the ice cream shop's owner, the creamery, Tommy Darras, D-A-R-A-S, wanted the flag removed, saying it cost him customers and that he had received threats and racially charged letters. Now, he didn't put up the flag. He doesn't even own the property that the flag is on. Yet, this guy, this small business owner, is being accused of being a Confederate sympathizer and a racist for he had no control over that flag. But he's the one being blamed for it. Does anybody see a correlation here? Well, the bigger picture? Okay, now I don't know, Darras's political views or if he's a skinhead or a Nazi sympathizer or a KKK man. Yeah, that's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. The point is, he doesn't own the property that this flag is on, this Confederate flag. The land is owned by the Sons of Confederate Veterans, not Tommy Darras. And evidently Tommy Darras has nothing to do with the Sons of Confederate Veterans. And yet he's the one being blamed for this flag. And the Sons of Confederate Veterans, other than to fight his lawsuit to get the flag removed, don't seem to boast that they're the ones that own the property. They're willing to let this guy take the heat. Kind of like the Republicans when the Democrats accuse Republicans. For whatever reason, Republicans seem to let the Democrats put the heat on them, and they take it. Oh, we're not racist. We're open. Screw that, saying that you're open-minded and that you're accepting. Why don't you tell them who the real racists are for a change? Kind of like the Sons of the Confederates, Confederate veterans. They're the ones with the flag and the monument up, not this ice cream owner. And this ice cream owner is so stupid and so cowardly. The first thing, instead of telling people we're not a part of that, we don't own that, he wants to go to the city to have them take it down. Now, Thursday's decision last week can be appealed to a circuit court. It says attorney Justin Bamberg, B-A-M-B-E-R-G, who's also a Democratic state representative, represents Darras and said they'll talk about whether to appeal. So Democrats suing Democrats. Over something that the Democrats did. Now, Joseph Braxton with the Sons of Confederate Veterans said if the restaurant appeals, the Heritage Group will defend its right to fly the flag on its property. He said, I hate that it came to this, Braxton said. I would like to see the creamery be successful. But hey, if he's the one taking all the negative heat and publicity about it, great. We're going to keep the damn flag up. This is hilarious. But this is typical. The wrong guy is being blamed, and he's acting like a Republican, running and hiding and saying, well, yes, I'll get it taken down. I don't own it, but, it's not my fault. Instead of saying, you know what? Let me just make it very clear and delineate that I don't own that property. And it's a bunch of Democrats that do. Oh, no. He's just going to run around and act like a Republican and try to hide their faces and say, it's not my fault. Call Rod now, 666-603-835-3226.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness.
Get some rear security.
From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us,
after this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please call or go online right now.
(603-835-3226). Indeed, our God is an awesome God. And for those of you who don't realize it or know it, yes, I am a true bona fide, true sense of the word, born-again Christian, not in the negative connotation. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I believe He is God. He is the Son of God. He is all of that wrapped into one, because God in three persons, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which is just like humans. The humans have a mind, humans have a body, and humans have a soul. Kind of like, the whole Trinity thing. We're created in the likeness and the image of God Himself. Because there's a Trinity within God and there's a Trinity within human beings. Isn't that amazing? Kind of like when you say me, myself, and I. Another Trinity, huh? Yeah, that's basically what it is. Just saying. Any case, 603-835-3226. To wrap this up, this whole mess, it came about actually down in South Carolina, is because Bamberg, the owner of this wonderful Edisto River Creamery, had asked the city's zoning administration to rule that the flag violates the business district zoning. The zoning administrator said the ordinance does not regulate flags on business properties. The restaurant then asked the appeals board to remove the flag, which the panel refused to do. Oh yeah. Hey, there's no law preventing or regulation preventing the flying the flag, but we're just going to order it down. Not. Now this is how I guess it started. The restaurant was once owned by one Maurice Bessinger, Bessinger, who raised Confederate flags on all of his establishments in the year 2000 after the Confederate flag was removed from the State House dome. In 2005, Bessinger gave the Sons of Confederate Veterans, a local group, a deed to the tiny piece of land in front of his restaurant. The land holds an historical marker referencing Union General William T. Sherman's crossing of the Edisto River in 1865. And so back in 2005, the original owner of the Edisto River Creamery gave a small portion of his property over to the Sons of Confederate Veterans, who have raised a Confederate flag on the monument, referring to General William Sherman's crossing of the Edisto River in 1865. And it's a Union general, not a Confederate, but they've got a Confederate flag. I don't care. The point is that you got some Democrats who don't want to tell the truth, who want to blame something else, and blame Republicans. It was a Democrat who gave the Sons of the Confederate the property, the damn flags in the first place, because he got pissed off that they took down the Union Jack from the State House. Oh, my God. You can't make this stuff up, folks. I say let it stay. And this guy needs to grow a backbone if he doesn't believe in that. But the only reason why he publicly doesn't, I don't know this for a fact, but in my opinion, the only reason why he doesn't agree with the flying the Union Jack, or the Confederate flag, I guess, the rebel flag, near his property, is because he's the one being blamed for it. Not because he doesn't believe in it. Notice that. There's nowhere in the story, and nowhere does this guy, when they interview him, say that he doesn't believe in it. He says everybody else, his customers, I'm losing customers because they think I did it. Notice how he isn't saying, well, I don't believe in this. I don't believe in what it represents. He's just saying, well, it's hurting me in my wallet. So I want it taken down so I don't have to deal with it. That's, by the way, is a typical Democrat reaction. Blame somebody else, get somebody else to fix the problem so you don't have to deal with it. People like you, lefties, created the damn problem in the first place. So now you want somebody else to fix it so you don't have to deal with it. It's pretty typical. Just saying. Rahm Emanuel is he's going the opposite way of doing what I get. Miami, I guess, is going the other way. Miami was once a sanctuary city, but Miami is dropping the sanctuary and welcoming city status because of what Attorney General Jeff Sessions said about all these wonderful police-type grants. They want the federal money. They want to abide by the rules, it appears. But not Chicago. Not Rahm Emanuel. Chicago. So I guess they're due like $5 million or something from this fund or grant fund. And because they're a sanctuary or welcoming city, Rahm Emanuel says that it's violating the rights of these illegal immigrants, their Fourth Amendment rights. Now, first of all, they're already a criminal. They're illegal. They do not get to share in the same rights in the Constitution as the citizenry of this country. They just don't, folks. It was never intended that way. Yeah, but, I heard last week, and it puts things in perspective, because this is the first time I heard it. And this is, on CNN, you have all these wonderful dunderheads on CNN and MSNBC that think that a poem inside the base of the Statue of Liberty, you go to the base of the statue, you go to the Statue of Liberty, and it sits on this pedestal or giant pedestal base, a star basically. And that's where you go in. And I've never been to the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, I've seen it. I've never gone to the island and stepped foot on the island and gone into the Statue of Liberty. Well, it's on my bucket list. But inside, when you walk through those doors, you're in the lobby, whatever they call it, the museum part. And of course, there's the elevators and stairs and everything that go up to the top. The crown. But the base is, for where the public is, there is a plaque of a poem. The poem, give me your tired, your huddled masses kind of stuff. That poem. Somehow, you've got the jackasses on MSNBC and CNN who think that poem is public policy on immigration. I kid you not. And it was mind-boggling to me. So in other words, let's just say even if at one time That was the policy at the time for immigration, which it wasn't. I mean, they think it's terrible that we have to require people learn English to come to the United States. They think it's terrible that that people, if they want to become citizens of this country or immigrate to this country, they have to have a way to take care of themselves without being on government assistance. They think it's terrible. That's the way it's always been. You know, you don't get to come. You didn't go through Ellis Island thinking that you can just come and sit on the dole and rob from the public. No, you had to be able to show that you were going to be able to somehow contribute to the greatness of this country and improve it. You were expected to at least know a little bit of English and to learn English before you became a citizen. You were expected to assimilate into the culture. You know, we didn't say strip you of your own culture. We said assimilate. You know, meld in to this wonderful melting pot. That was policy. That has always been policy of the U.S. of A. It was never intended, you know. Anyway. So you have Rahm Emanuel, who wants to sue Sessions and the DOJ, and they're going to find some stupid liberal Democratic appointed judge that's going to agree with them, and again, interfere with the executive branch's constitutionally designated duties to handle immigration. Because, you know, not giving the city of Chicago $5 million because they use what they say. Well, we use the $5 million to help us buy bulletproof vests for our police officers. And if we don't have that money, you're putting police officers' lives at... No, you're putting police officers' lives at risk by being a welcoming sanctuary city for potential criminals. And if the whole point is that you have to give the DHS a 48-hour notice before you release someone that is on, they know is an illegal immigrant on their list. Let them know, well, he's going to get out of jail soon in 2 days. You might want to come pick him up. Instead of doing that, they want to release a criminal back onto the city of Chicago streets. And they wonder why they have so much crime and so many people are being shot every weekend. Oh, well, you know. According to Dixiecrat Democrats down in the South, the problem isn't necessarily the Latinos coming across the border illegally. It's all those poor black people huddled into the south side of Chicago with no jobs, no education, and no hope. They're the ones causing all the violence. Well, part of the reason why they don't have any jobs and any hope is because Democrats allow illegals to come and stay there and take their jobs. And part of the reason why they have no hope is because they don't have any education, which is run by who? The Democrats. Do you folks, I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but do people realize the entire, well, I can't blame 100% everything on Democrats, but do you realize some of our society's biggest problems are directly due to Democratic liberal policy? Let me update that. Democratic liberal racist policy. Let's get it right, because the policy that Democrats foist upon all of us is truly racist. We need to educate them. You're already educating them. You've got control of the school systems. You've been running some of these big city governments for decades. This is all you, liberal Democrats. It's all you. It's not on the right side of the political aisle. It's all on the left side of the political aisle. This is some amazing stuff. So now Rahm Emanuel says that they're going to put Sessions' policy is going to put cops in danger. Wait, Mr. Mayor, you didn't think for a second to think, well, maybe my policy of being a sanctuary welcoming city for illegal immigrants, for criminals, is possibly the cause? In that maybe somebody is acting like a grown-up and wants to fix the problems in places like Chicago, and you're standing in their way. Democrats will never, ever take responsibility, kind of like that ice cream shop owner down in South Carolina. Well, it ain't my fault that that flag is there. It's somebody else's fault, so they got to fix it. Well, why don't you just tell everybody you don't own that property? Because, hey, Democrats are also the ones who are often known for blaming others for stuff that isn't their fault as well. So they're blaming the ice cream owner for the flag that's flying in front of his store on property that he doesn't own and has no control over. Kind of like Rahm Emanuel blaming Jeff Sessions and President Trump for the violence in Chicago city streets. And you got a bunch of Democrats that buy that. Wow.
I'm not Rod Eccles, and I approve this message. A couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said, "I'll bet you're a Nazi." Well, I love America, support the Constitution, and believe in capitalism. So I told him I'm not a Nazi, and I'm not. So what happens? The punk breaks out 2 windows and pepper sprays an elderly woman in the face. There's one thing about long-haired young people nowadays. They're real assholes. Long-haired young people, you suck.
Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Sign him up for the Box of Bait Club and he'll never be hungry again. The Box of Bait Club is a brand new dream come true for every fisherman. Something new and different in your tackle box every month. Every month, another excuse to get outside and do what you love. Don't let this one get away. The Box of Bait Club is currently accepting a limited number of pre-orders with subscriptions starting at $39.95 per month. Find out more now. Log on to boxofbaitclub.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
Warning. Listening to the Rod Eccles Show by the Idiot Left may cause outrage, fear, a need for safety pins and/or spaces. If you experience any of these symptoms or are allergic to truth, tune in and learn something.
Here's a story out of Miami-Dade County from the Miami Herald. The Miami-Dade complied with Trump to change its sanctuary status, and it worked. For the first time since it began extending the detentions of local inmates sought for deportation, Miami-Dade County received word from Washington that it won't be treated as a community giving sanctuary to immigration violators. Yes, an August 4th letter to Mayor Carlos Jimenez from the Justice Department said there was no evidence Miami-Dade was out of compliance with an immigration provision of a federal police grant worth nearly $500,000 to the county this year. Now, shortly after President Trump took office promising an immigration crackdown, Jimenez reversed a 2013 county policy and ordered Miami-Dade jails to begin honoring requests by immigration officers to extend the detention of people in local custody who are also being sought for possible deportation. Now, so far, Miami-Dade is the only large jurisdiction known to have made that kind of a change, which the county commissioned endorse back in February. As a result, it has been assumed Miami-Dade would be shielded from any loss of federal funds the Trump administration engineered as part of a broader effort to punish communities not cooperating on immigration detention. Actually, that should read, not to punish communities who are not cooperating with federal law and federal regulation. Now, see, the rest of us, we got to follow federal law. We got to follow federal regulation. We don't get to say, well, I'm going to create my own little sanctuary house here. My property is now sanctuary from certain kinds of federal. Try getting away with that with like the EPA. Yeah, no, I'm an EPA sanctuary property. So you don't get to come on my property and tell me what to do. I'm going to sue you if you don't give me the money that's due me. First of all, you don't. This is the whole problem with overtaxing on the federal level, and laundering the money in Washington D.C. just to give it back. I mean, that's ridiculous. First of all, I don't believe that the federal government should be doling out money to local jurisdictions for policing. If they have to do that, it means that they're taxing on the federal level too much. Well, Rod, if they don't do that, then they have to raise taxes in these communities. Well, that's where it's supposed to be taxed. If you lower the federal rate and the local rate raises, then you balance out, don't you? But you've got more control over your local community than you do and taxation there than you do at the Fed level. Again, this is offloading the responsibility. Democrats are famous for this. Republicans do this too. They're not the only ones, but the Democrats are really famous for doing this, offloading responsibility onto somebody else. So Rahm Emanuel is saying, well, instead of us being more efficient in following federal regulation and federal guidelines and federal law and the Constitution and taking responsibility for our own policing actions, oh no, we're going to blame Jeff Sessions and the Trump administration. Hello?
Today, there's a beer for everyone.
Hey, me and the guys are going out for beer. You want to come along? Nah, I got a lot of data to enter into the computer tonight.
Now, there's a brew for the future.
Want me to bring you something back? Thanks, but I got some right here.
Microsoft Brew.
You got a beer tap on your computer?
With a head so thick you can float a mouse on it.
Let me get this straight. You make your own beer with the computer? With the right software, you can do anything.
Microsoft Brew.
Here, I call this one Windows 95. I don't know. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
And if you got to get there quicker, try the new ISDN malt liquor.
When I found out I had atrial fibrillation, a serious but highly treatable heart condition, the first thing I thought of was who would take care of my wife and children if anything were to happen to me. My doctor recommended Prevactin. I had a lot of questions, so I did some research. It turns out Prevactin is the #1 recommended drug for Crohn's disease. I think my doctor's trying to kill me and steal my wife.
Doctors. They'll stop at nothing to get your wife.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
See that cute little dog in the pet store window? Chances are it came from a puppy mill. A breeding facility that forces caged, neglected, and often sick dogs to churn out puppy after puppy to be sold for profit. Meanwhile, millions of wonderful, healthy pets end up in animal shelters. This leads to the killing of more than 9,000 by the end of today. But with one simple choice, you can help. Just by deciding to adopt instead of purchase your next pet. Animal shelters are full of amazing pets looking for a home. When you adopt your new best friend, not only are you saving a life, you're taking a stand against puppy mills. When your friends see the smart choice and impact you've made, they adopt their next pet and share with 5 of their friends, who share with 5 more. Before long, thousands get involved. Pet stores stop selling dogs from puppy mills, and even more lives are saved. And with your help, we can save them all. Visit bestfriends.org/puppymills to learn more.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness.
Get some rear security.
From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
The human voice. It can be sweet as music, powerful as thunder,
And so, my fellow Americans,
cheerful as laughter. But for millions of people, it can also be a sign of COPD. This serious lung disease can make it so hard to breathe, you often can't catch a breath or finish a sentence, let alone carry a tune. And many who have COPD don't even know it. That's where your voice comes in. If you think you or a loved one have symptoms, talk with a healthcare provider. Early diagnosis can mean better treatments and quality of life. Join us in raising our voices for the millions with COPD who can't. Learn more, breathe better at NIH.gov.
As a mother, you don't want to have to worry about this bill is coming, but then she needs this chemo. That's a decision you shouldn't have to make.
It's a huge burden lifted financially, and so it allows you to give singular focus to your child. I've never known a hospital that takes care of their patients so thoroughly.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we going to do this? When they told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow. They pretty much have saved us.
It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders, and now your focus is supporting this child.
There is not another hospital like St. Jude. The patient care is unmatchable. It saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. It saved our family.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Studio located somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire is Rod Eccles.
And here we are, hour number 3 already here on the Rod Eccles Show. The fastest 3 hours on Internet Talk Radio is right here on this fantabulous program. It's fantabulous even if I have to say it myself and nobody else does. I believe it, so therefore it must be true. Because I'm only about the truth. Anyway, here it is, Tuesday, August number 8 in the year of our Lord 2017. Call-in number is 603-835-3226. I am feeling a lot better. And the month of July was kind of rough for me. And I was feeling under the weather quite a bit, not feeling my best. And finally, the physician said, well, it sounds like, little quick exam, it sounds like in what you're going through and symptoms and stuff, you are a victim of a tick bite. And I'm like, I can't be a victim. I checked myself. He goes, well, there are many different kinds of ticks. And some of them can, if you don't really check yourself really closely, some of them are pretty small. And they may just appear to be, a skin imperfection, like a mole or something. I said, okay, well, what does that mean? He says, well, different kinds of ticks can bring on different types of symptoms. You got ticks certain disease. There's even a tick, if you get bit by this one kind of tick that's here in New England, it could make you allergic to meat. No joke. This tick will make you a vegetarian. Like, well, that's not it, because I can still eat meat. But there are ticks that can affect your internal organs, especially your digestive system. In other words, give you symptoms that are similar to like irritable bowel syndrome or Crohn's disease. And he said it could take up to a year for this to fully clear your system. So, folks, if you are here in the Northeast, we're talking Pennsylvania, New York, all up in New England and parts of Canada, ticks are terrible. You gotta, look, I don't go out into the woods and stuff without, repellent. I usually don't wear shorts out there, and I think I'm taking the precautions, but sometimes it just happens. If you're out having fun somewhere, especially on here in New England, you're just going to the river or something and to cool off, you never know if you brush up against something. It's laden with ticks. We have a big problem with ticks up here. So evidently that was my issue back in July. I did a quick survey of my bod. No tick now. But that's what he said it sounds like. So, and I still kind of, on occasion, especially late in the day, I'm a little bit more tired still than I used to be. And no, it has nothing to do with age. But yeah, lot better. So I'm a lot more with it. But I was definitely not feeling my best in July. And I don't ever want anybody to have that kind of feeling. It's terrible. So be careful out there. 603-835-3226 is the number. Let me get. By the way, if you have questions for me, excuse me, you can send those questions. Ask me directly. Twitter, Facebook, that's okay. Or you can send those questions to the Rod Eccles Show at gmail.com. And as well as Military Tribute Thursday. Your military tribute should be sent to the Rod Eccles Show at gmail.com. We've got I may get to that tearjerker of a tribute this Thursday, or this new one here, that's a little bit more humorous. I may do that one instead. This tearjerker one, my God, I'm not trying to avoid. Well, I am trying to avoid it. But in any case, well, I got through the one giving special tribute to my father last week, so I guess I'm capable of doing it. But it's a little bit tough, and I don't want to be heavy every week on people. Got to mix it up with some of the more lighthearted stuff that people write as a tribute as well. But you can send your tribute to the heavy or light or anywhere in between, therodeckleshow.com. Put tribute in the headline so I know what it is. If you got a question, put question in the headline so I know what it is. And here's a couple of questions that I've gotten. I get this question a lot. Rod, why don't you run for office? And I've often said because I believe I can do more behind this microphone and out giving speeches and appearances than I can being an actual cog in the wheel, if you will, down in the muck and swamp of Washington, D.C. Not to mention, look, I've offered my services. I've actually gone into and if there's anybody listening from the New Hampshire Republican Party, you guys better listen up. I have been to the Republican Party's headquarters in Concord twice offering my services to help, to volunteer, to do whatever I could do to help Republicans win. They have never taken me up on my offer. In fact, I can't remember her name, but at the time it was nice. Seemed to be a nice lady, sandy blonde hair, kind of pretty actually. She sort of just dismissed me, and I said, "Well, the hell with this." You know, I've just come to realize that the Republicans the Republican Party does not want conservatives, real conservatives, helping them or being a part of them. And if you come across them as being which is really kind of strange because, you know, when they during the Trump, the political season in the you know, the Merrimack County Republican Committee, I was their master of ceremonies for their program that they have every 4 years. And that's, you know, I met Carly Fiorina. I met a couple of the serious gubernatorial candidates for New Hampshire at the time, which is why I really got to know and like Frank Edelblut, but he lost to Chris Sununu in the primary. A close race, by the way. As well as a couple of other candidates. I met Mrs. Benjamin Carson, and I got to briefly meet with Dr. Carson himself the next day. because he came in the next day instead of that night, so he sent his wife in his stead because he had another event that he had to attend to. Understood. So, and I've met a bunch of conservative Republicans. You know, I've met and had lunch with Colonel Allen West and a few others. And it's been very enlightening, but I realize, look what they did to Allen West down in Florida. I mean, here's a former retired lieutenant colonel of the U.S. Army, black guy, full-on conservative, was elected down there, and they jerry-rigged his district to make sure that he wouldn't win. And he did. He lost out to Alan Grayson, the guy that he booted, by the way. And so they don't want real conservatives in the GOP. The rank and file of the GOP does not want real Republican conservatives. And so I'm not going to play the party line. So there is I don't think I'd get I don't think I'd really get Republican Party backing if I was to go for a large national office like congressman or senator or something. It just wouldn't happen. Not even here in this state. Because it's still the GOP is a GOP no matter where you go. So that is basically why I don't want to go through all that bullshit anyway. I don't need to put myself and my family through that kind of crap. That's because you know what would happen. You know, I know New Hampshire is the last bastion of red up in New England. Can you imagine what the surrounding states, especially the press in Massachusetts, would try to do to me? I am not going through that. I don't have to. I can be of big assistance by not being the face in the one running. I can help those others who are true conservatives run. Another question. Why do I not cover all the stuff like Rush and Hannity and all the big guys cover? Well, because I'm not them. If you like what they're covering, great. But I try to diversify from. Besides, we all don't cover the exact same. I mean, the biggest stuff out there. Yeah, we probably all cover similar things. But I'm not trying to be an imitation of Rush or Hannity or Levin or Savage or any of those guys. They're all unique in their own way, and they all don't cover the same stuff. So why should I? I'm not going to cover everything they cover. And besides, a lot of this stuff I think is just as important that I do cover that nobody else does. So that kind of gives me a unique position, does it not? Just saying. So wouldn't that be boring? Here you go, 9 to noon Eastern time here. I'll cover stuff, and then you listen noon to 3 Eastern time, and you hear Rush cover the exact same stuff, and then 3 to 6 in many areas Eastern time, you hear Sean Hannity cover 9 hours of the exact same stuff. Wouldn't you get a little bored? I think so. I do. Because I know when I hear Rush cover something and then Hannity covers the exact same thing, like, I already heard this for 3 hours. Why do I want to hear it for another 3? There's other news and other stories that need to be covered. You guys, I don't want to hear the same stuff over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So anyway, I don't know why. Well, you got to be like somebody else before you make it big. Well, no, I'm just going to be me, no matter what. I don't care. So there's that. Questions for. So if you got more questions, go ahead and send them in. We'll cover them on the air. Any case. Let's see here. What did you know? Did you know that more than 1.1 million Americans under Trump have left the food stamp program? Well, that goes, hand in hand with unemployment dropping and real jobs. Now understand what last month 209,000 jobs were created. Understand that all 209,000 were not high-paying, quote-unquote, living wage jobs. I got that. But since Trump took office, the actual number of people finding real, substantial, quote-unquote, living wage jobs has gone up. The labor participation rate is inching upward. So when you do that, what does that mean? It means people are providing for themselves and don't need government handouts. So more than 1 million people have dropped out of the food stamp program because they don't need it. More than 1.1 million Americans dropped off the food stamp roll since President Trump took office in January, according to the latest U.S. Department of Agriculture statistics on its food stamp enrollment programs. Participation in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as SNAP, dropped to just under 41.5 million in May, which is the most recent data from the USDA, from 42.7 million in January of the same year, this year. So according to the latest data, SNAP enrollment during the first few months of Trump's presidency decreased by nearly 3%. And it has, on average in 2017, has dropped to its lowest level since 2010. And the latest numbers show that this trend is going to continue. That's success, folks. Success should not be measured by the number of people that you help. Success should be measured in the number of people that no longer need your help. It's called self-sufficiency. Democrats hate that.
Yes, love hurts. It can hurt emotionally, but more important, it can also hurt you physically. It can hurt you in a way which nobody who owns a hot tub and lives in California can afford to be unaware of. Yes, I'm talking about California hot tub rectal gonorrhea. This painful, incurable disease can make an enjoyable soak in a hot tub with family, friends, and dog into a literally unforgettable experience. If you catch California hot tub rectal gonorrhea, not only will you walk around feeling like you're about to pass a twisted sardine can lid, you'll also smell like a pile of burning tractor tires. So don't jump out of the frying pan and into the hot tub, because if you get California hot tub rectal gonorrhea, it'll really burn your ass.
This has been a public service message brought to you by the Citizens Against CHTRG Foundation. California hot tub rectal gonorrhea. We're not going to take it sitting down.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide. Plus, what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
Maxine Waters is back in. Well, she hasn't left the news. She's always been in the news. She's an. I don't know if I should say this, but since I'm politically incorrect anyway, I'm going to say it. She's an attention whore. Rod, you're calling a woman a whore? She's an attention whore. Look, there are men that are attention whores too. Let's be honest about that. But Maxine Waters, you want to talk about some racist BS here. Maxine Waters won't rule out an all-black party. Yes, Representative Maxine Waters wouldn't rule out the concept of an all-black political party when she was asked about it. She joined the Breakfast Club radio show earlier this morning and was asked if it was time for black people to form their own political party. I thought we were trying to move past color, racism, all that kind of stuff. How is that possible if you're going to institute political parties based on race? It doesn't make any sense. Well, it does if you understand liberalism and liberals, like I do. Well, I fully understand them. So this makes perfect sense. But for the uninitiated and everybody else outside looking in, and they're hearing all this rhetoric from Democrats talking about, unity and one people, and we need to accept everybody for what they are and who they are and all that kind of stuff. And then they turn around and want to separate us and divide us up into smaller and smaller groups based on race and sexual orientation and how much we weigh and, what disease we may or may not have. They're the ones that want to separate us and divide us up into smaller and smaller, groups. I'm a victim of the man in mass society. I'm a racist. You got people out there like Chelsea Handler who's talking about, well, maybe we should have laws and have people arrested for racist talk. Well, now here's a woman that's partly famous for her racist jokes. She'd be one of the first to be locked up. And I know a lot of you out there would probably say, good. Well, that's not so good. But the point is that these stupid, idiotic liberals are out there. What they think that they're doing is that they're blaming the right, the political right, for all the ills of race and division in this country. And it's not the right that's doing it, it's the left. So she says, do you think it's time, Representative Waters, for there to be a political party, blacks to form their own political party? She says, not at this point. You have to show that you're willing and you're able to put the numbers together and exercise your influence. In other words, the only reason not to have an all-black party like the black, congressional Caucasians is simply because she doesn't think they have the numbers to exert influence yet. So in other words, they're working on it. She says we still are not voting our influence yet. What we should do is organize our power, exercise our power, particularly in the Democratic Party, because that's where most of us are. You've got the Congressional Black Caucasian Congress in the Congress. They have huge amounts of power. They have huge sway. And then of course, you've got your civilian counterparts out there in Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, who are out there race pimping on a daily basis. Don't tell me they don't have power. They have plenty of power. People are ridiculous.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness.
Get some rear security.
From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all, the few, the proud, the Marines.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please call or go online right now.
This is Free America broadcasting on the Rod Eccles Show with a message to all patriots trapped behind the lines in California, New York, Boston, and Chicago. Don't give up, true lovers of America. Even as we speak, moves are being made to drive the invaders back to the land from which they came. Defeat the would-be dictators and lift the chains of tyranny from around your neck. Stay strong. Stay brave. You're not forgotten, and you're not alone. Until next time, patriots, this is Free America signing out.
Bring the rain.
Democrats are home to all the whiny people in the nation. They're the whiny party, and I'm not the one saying this. Well, I have said this, but in this particular case, I'm not the one saying it. From the Hill, former Democratic National Committee, DNC Chairman Howard Dean, Dr. Howard Dean, former governor of Vermont, ripped what he called the whiny portion of the Democratic Party over the weekend in response to criticism of Senator Kamala Harris of California by a number of so-called progressives. He said, there has always been a section of the left, which I call the whiny party, the party that doesn't really want to win, they just want to be pure. And if they go down swinging pure, then that's fine, said Dean. He told this on MSNBC's MS Joy Reid on AM Joy. He continued, well, the problem with that is it leaves behind the people who really need their help. If we're going to have a single payer or Medicare for all or whatever, we're going to have a health care that covers every American, as every other industrialized country has, then we all have to pull together. And, well, actually, little fact there. No, not every other. I guess it depends on what you call industrialized country. Not every quote-unquote industrialized country has health care for all. That's provided by the government. And second of all, we've never been like every other country, whether they be industrialized or not. The United States has always stood apart from the rest of the world. I mean, we have. Our form of government, as it was established, is still unique. We haven't even forced a bunch of other countries that we've defeated in war to completely adopt our type of constitution. We haven't. The United States is wholly so we want our nation to be like every other nation when it comes to health care? Well, yeah, don't get me wrong. I know the left wants us to be like every other nation when it comes politically as well. But we've never been like the rest of the world. We've always, from day one, from the inauguration of George Washington, we have been different. We have stood alone on this planet. And every once in a while, we get somebody like Obama, like FDR, like Woodrow Wilson, who want to make us more like the rest of the world instead of making the rest of the world more like us. Anybody notice that? Instead of really trying to guide the rest of the world into allowing its citizens to be more free, having more effective government, having more voice in their government, they always try to transform us into being more like the rest of the world. That is not how we were established. That is not who we were meant to be. That is not who we were called to be. We've been unique. One of the most unique, if you want to use the word empire, we are one of the most unique empires in the history of mankind. Period. I mean, history is replete with individuals and factions who've wanted to be more like what the U.S. was founded to be. And they never got it. They never achieved it. You know, the ancient Greeks started this stuff in the city-states with democracy, basically mob rule. That worked for them for a while. And then the Romans took the best parts of Greek government style and tried to form their own, and it worked for a while until they allowed themselves to be taken over by emperors and potentates and all that kind of stuff. So we stand up there in the history of mankind as being one of the most unique forms of government and civilization the planet has ever seen. And to this day, we stand, not even Britain and France have the same type of free government today as we initially were supposed to have. They don't. Nobody on the planet does. Nobody on the planet is striving for that at this moment. But we're the ones striving to be more like the rest of the world. And because we stood alone, we've gone from a backwater, basically farming type of community nation into being an industrialized powerhouse that has more human advancement. Well, if you want to call them, they don't call them, patents all over the planet. But we have more patents that have advanced mankind in this country, from this country, than any other country. Basically, more than anybody else in the entire world combined since the Industrial Revolution. We have advancement of this entire planet has come mostly from that of the United States. Because we were so different. That includes medical science. If we were to have a system that was like everybody else on the planet, you could kiss half all the cures and treatments that we currently have today goodbye because they never would have been invented. So whiny? I don't think so. I mean, sure, there have been advances in other parts of the world as far as medical science is concerned, but you also have to understand a lot of that other advancement, outside U.S. advancement, has been based on U.S. research. I mean, that's just the truth. I'm not trying to puff up our chest here, but lay down the truth here. That's the truth. Look it up. There's not a single country or group of countries on this planet that has achieved as much in such a short a period of time as we have. And yes, it is due a lot to bringing a bunch of people from different parts of the planet together, called immigration, proper legal immigration. Other countries do not allow and never have allowed the type of an immigration system that we have. And thus, they don't get the benefit of bringing smart minds from all over the planet together under one roof, so to speak. That has been our greatest strength. And yet the left wants to turn it into our greatest weakness. I don't want to have a system that is like everybody else on the planet. And I'm getting sick and tired of somebody else, everybody, on the left telling you, well, everybody else has it. Well, then that means we shouldn't. Because look at everybody else. They're not us. And we're not them. And that doesn't mean I think that we're better than everybody else. We just have a better form of governance that allows people, according to the Constitution, it allows people to bring out the best in each and every individual within them, bring out the best within themselves. They have the freedom to bring out the best within themselves. Oftentimes you have brilliant minds in other countries that they have been stifled, stymied, arrested, imprisoned in their own home countries, and they've been able to escape those repressive regimes and come here and flourish. Hey, but you want to make our medical system like everybody else's? You know how many people come to the United States for advanced medical treatment because they can't get it in their so-called healthcare for all country? We have cured and treated millions of people throughout the years from all over the planet because they can't get those treatments or those cures in their own country with the healthcare system run by who? Their government. And this is what Howard Dean thinks that we should be doing? It's just pure, unadulterated, illogical insanity. I mean, this is just... unbelievable. It makes no sense. But, hey, that's the left. They don't have to make sense. All they got to do is, be touchy-feely because it just sounds so good for everybody, every man, woman, and child to have free health care. It ain't free, and it ain't cheaper. I mean, look at Finland, for crying out loud. One of the highest, marginal tax rate in the 70% range. Well, all that, a lot of their stuff is provided for them, Rod, by the government. Yeah, but it ain't free. It's costing them at least 70 cents on every dollar that they earned is being turned over to the government to get all that free stuff. How many Americans would you make? In other words, you make $100,000 a year and you get to keep $30,000. Would you put up with that? Oh, but that's what we're supposed to be like the rest of the world then when it comes to that. It's idiocy. We should be promoting how free of a nation we're supposed to be. The whole notion of who is John Galt, Atlas Shrugged, that's not supposed to be some offshore island somewhere like, Iceland. It's supposed to be the whole of the United States of America. The whole of the United States of America is supposed to be Atlas Shrugged. Not the part of Atlas Shrugged where you got a bunch of brilliant people and industrialists and scientists who are trying to escape America in order to form some other country where they're free to be the best of who they are. That's supposed to be the US of A. That's what the book is about, folks. It's a commentary on what the United States was originally thought to be and was for at least the first 150 years or so of its history. And you started getting these know-it-all, liberal, idiotic, want to control everything government types were starting to make inroads in our government and starting to change things from the inside. And now we get a guy in the office that says, well, wait a minute, hold on. No. We want to try to get back to that point that we were, 100 years ago. Can you imagine the type of advancements we could have made already if we had proper, right-size government taxation and regulation, not overburdensome? Can you imagine how advanced the American civilization would be right now? Let me just give you an example of somebody who's trying to do it right. I hate to point them out, but the UAE, especially places like Abu Dhabi and Dubai, they're Islamic states run by Sharia law that is putting that aside to advance their cities like you would not believe. The most advanced cities on the planet are not in the USA right now. I mean, arguably, it's Dubai. I mean, really, look what they're doing. Yeah, they have the money to do it, but hey, we also could have that collective amount of money to do it if it were left in private hands and not being absconded and laundered in Washington, D.C. and in state capitals. It boggles the mind to even think about if we were a country that stuck to our constitutional roots, where the advancement of this country, and indeed by osmosis the rest of the planet, would be. The left don't fully understand that the rest of the world has advanced to the stage that they are, and that you have these so-called third world countries, many of them want to get into the first world, simply because by osmosis it was started here. The advancement was here. Well, the Industrial Revolution really began in England. Yeah, they didn't know what they had. And we got a bunch of industrialists here. Some of them came from Great Britain. Yeah. Carnegie, anybody? They left Great Britain and came here and flourished and created and invented systems of manufacturing and products and services that blew the rest of the world's mind. It's here. This is the island that Atlas Shrugged talked about. And now we got a guy who's the president of the United States who kind of agrees with that. And who are the ones whining about it? Oh, the leftists who want to control every aspect of your life. That's who's whining about it. Give me a break.
What if I told you that you could lose weight simply by drinking coffee? Change your coffee, change your life. Our gourmet estate-grown coffee is infused with powerful herbs that help you melt fat and keep you from feeling hungry for 6+ hours. Get results or your money back. Order yours today at skinnycoffeeshop.com. That's skinnycoffeeshop.com. Tea and water also available. skinnycoffeeshop.com.
Have a legal problem and need some serious legal advice? Then you're listening to the wrong podcast.
Any facts we say here are probably wrong, and any analysis of the law should not be followed.
There you go. Reasonable men are here to take a twisted look at the law.
Stack your hair right.
Learn in hand. Best name in law school.
Check us out on iTunes, reasonablemen.com, or on your favorite podcast app.
Reasonable men are back.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
Evidently, wonderful California is experiencing some serious environmental issues and concerns, and it has to do with, believe it or not, marijuana. Yes, toxic waste from U.S. pot farms alarms the experts. Pollution from illegal marijuana farms deep in California's national forest is far worse than previously thought, and has turned thousands of acres into waste dumps so toxic that simply touching plants has landed law enforcement officers in the hospital. Now, the volume of banned or restricted pesticides and illegally applied fertilizers in the woods dwarfs estimates by the U.S. Forest Service in 2014, when a top enforcement official testified that the pollution was threatening forest land in California and in other states. Excuse me. It's pot, folks. I thought all this was supposed to stop, legalizing this stuff and highly overly regulating. It was supposed to change all this and stop all this nonsense with the illegal. Evidently, there's still illegal pot farms out there, and they're being sprayed with well, now you're smoking that stuff. By the way, if you're a pot smoker, all those chemicals, and they claim, well, it's the THC content is more concentrated and making people higher, faster, stronger, longer highs. Maybe it's all the chemical fertilizers and stuff that they're spraying on these plants. Are we going to have to now start labeling a pot in legal dispensaries as being organic versus certified organic versus non-certified organic pot? Well, hey, isn't that nice? You can go out there into the forest and not have gloves on if you're a cop and get a contact high by touching the plants. Hey, are we going to have some sort of, THC-proof bodysuits for our police officers now? I'm just asking. Maybe that's why California has animals that are encroaching on cities, because they're all high. Just saying. Don't forget to be here tomorrow, folks. We're done for today, unfortunately, but we'll be back tomorrow. Intel report tomorrow as well. See you on Wednesday in about 21 hours. Thanks for tuning in. I'm out.
Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton.
A shameless politician always plays her cards right. Got a crew for the fight on the airwaves. Lapdogs in the press keep their mouths tight. Cause a Clinton never needs to explain what, why it is what they done or with who. A real Clinton knows that they're entitled, and you don't get to know what they do.
What difference does it make?
For Clinton, what's loaded in some fat Apple file? A Clinton plays the victim for promotion. A Clinton kills it off with a smile. Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. A server full of secrets ain't no thing. Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. Nothing ever hits with the sting.